It's a little early, but how about we go ahead and we'll start the meeting off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, the first order of business, we will start off with a salary board meeting. I'd like to call that to order.
Chairman Schock announced that today's salary board meeting was duly advertised in local newspaper. At this point, we're asking for any public input on agenda items only. Hearing none, we'll go on. A motion is needed to approve and dispense with the reading of the minutes of the salary board meeting on Tuesday, October 3rd, 2017.
A motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second on the question. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion is needed to fill the vacant position of drug and alcohol administrator with Manuel Giorgini, an above starting salary of $45,185.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second on the question. All in favor, state aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Any old business? Any new business? At this time, I'd like to ask for any public input on the salary board.
Hold on. We ought to, Sam brought that to my attention. We should do this as a roll call on the salary board to make sure that we have the vote of the controller recorded.
I did vote.
You did, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I
Well,
saw
if it's, okay, as long as it's acknowledged in the minutes that you had voted aye. Normally, we do those as a roll call.
I think you should do it.
Do you want, okay. All right, we will redo that as the motion well, first we'll start with the motion to approve and dispense with the reading of the minutes of the salary board meeting of October 3rd, 2017. We'll do that as a roll call vote.
Controller Grayson?
Yes.
Commissioner Best? Yes. Commissioner Chickattown?
Yes.
Chairman Schock?
Yes. And then the motion to fill the vacant position of drug and alcohol administrator with Emmanuel Giorgini at an above starting salary of $45,185 as a roll call.
Controller Grayson?
Yes.
Commissioner Best? Yes. Commissioner Chickattown?
Yes.
Chairman Schock?
Yes.
We've called for old business, new business. Any public input for the salary board?
None. I will call to order the regular public meeting. In the first order of business, we have a presentation of professional certification to Stephen Jeffrey, Emergency Management Coordinator. And my understanding is there's somebody from PEMA here to do that. Is that the case? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me some time on your agenda today to recognize a member of your staff, your Emergency Management Coordinator, Stephen Jeffrey. I've known Steve for a number of years, always knew him as a person that strove to be the best in whatever he did. This is no exception. The certification I'm presenting today is the highest level we offer at PEMA for our Emergency Management Coordinator. There's 3 levels. The first 2 are required by law. The third is voluntary. It's a considerable bit amount of work, considerable amount of training. He even has to sit through some classes we teach and I teach. So if he gets through that, I give him credit. But it's a very demanding course to reach this certification. Not every coordinator has it in the Commonwealth. As a matter of fact, Steve is the first to receive this award as a county coordinator in this county. No other county coordinator has received this prior to him. So with that, I would like to just take a moment and present Steve with his professional certification that was presented September 19, 2017. Congratulations, Steve.
Thank you. Obviously, I have to thank, my staff that allows me to do this, and obviously the county commissioners to permit me to go out and attend these training sessions, so thank you all.
Thanks for all your hard work, Steve. I don't know if you want to come up here. Usually they, yeah. like to
Commissioner,
get
I would like to say thank you for your support to the emergency management program. As you know, times like this, it's a program that's kind of quiet. You don't hear much of. Our next flood, our next incident, they'll be better prepared because of Steve and his staff. So thank you for your support, and congratulations to Steve.
Thank you.
Come up as well.
This time I'd like to ask for any citizens' input for agenda items only. Hearing none, we'll continue. Motions need to approve and dispense with the reading of the minutes of the Commissioners' public meeting held on Tuesday, October 3rd, 2017.
Motion
So moved.
Second.
made and second on the question. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motions need to pay all county and liquid fuel payrolls as submitted by the Human Resource Office for payroll number 20 in the amount of $677,052.46. Payroll number 2 in the amount of number 21 in the amount of $683,046.54, and payroll number 22 in the amount of $686,938.55.
Motion
So moved.
Second.
made and second on the question. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motions need to pay all county and liquid fuel bills as submitted by the county controller in the amount of $10,152,925.55 from September 30th, 2017 to November 9th, 2017.
Motion
So moved.
Second.
made and second on the question. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Announcements. The next regular public meeting will be held on Tuesday, December 5th, 2017, at 1 p.m. in the public meeting room at the Administration Center, 399 Stadium Drive, Sunbury. A work session will be held on Tuesday, November 21st, 2017, beginning at 10 a.m. in the Commissioners' Conference Room. Northumberland County Courthouse, Administration Center, and related county facilities will be closed on Thursday, November 23rd, and Friday, November 24th, in observance of the Thanksgiving Day holiday. A motion is needed for the Commissioners to sign the state tax equalization voucher for transfers of real estate for the month of September 2017 as submitted by the Assessment Office.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second on the question. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
A motion is needed to approve the employee status sheet list of new hires, individuals no longer employed, promotions, demotions, and transfers as items number 1 through 29.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, I'll second. On the question.
I'm taking exception with number 18, and I just have a few comments. My understanding, and as it's listed on the employment sheet, that this is an elimination of this position and a restructuring of this office. And, I mean, very clearly, we should put that type of an issue before salary board, as all positions are created and eliminated through salary board, if not required to. So I was hoping to see it, did not see it on the agenda of the salary board, and this person who, whose title is the Assistant Tax Claim Director was actually given notice, and her last day was, I believe, the 15th or sometime in the past. And we're just now talking about it now, and it's not before the salary board. So I guess I take exception to that. I'm going to vote no on that. And my question is, what are you restructuring? How are you restructuring it? And if you're eliminating it, why wasn't it included on the salary board?
And I think, Brenda, do you want to speak a little bit to that? Because you had some ideas for the department. And I think that, you know, in terms of the termination, I think that was requested regardless of the restructuring, but you knew that it was going to be a topic that you wanted to discuss with us.
Right, and when taking over the position back in April, was looking from being two separate departments as assessment and tax claim. And forgive me if my voice gives out a little bit, I'm dealing with an issue, sorry. Looking at some of the management roles that were there, we had myself as director over real estate, we have a director over tax claim, and then another assistant director under her. And in reviewing the position itself and the different categories of administrating, truly felt that it was not an assistant director position. And what we're looking at with this restructuring is cross-training, so that we would like to look for a position that's more amenable to both offices and not strictly the tax claim. We're seeing a strong need on the assessment side as well, but we figure within the remaining months of the year, we'll be able to look at some better position to come up with. Administrative assistant possibly, but as far as an assistant director was not a good position to have within the office.
I just have a follow-up question. Are you saying that you're going to utilize somebody from the other side of the office, from tax assessment, to sort of do?
We're looking to utilize a new position.
Okay.
And creating something that utilizes for both.
You haven't come to
Because-
us with that yet.
Right,
That
right.
was a discussion I think you had with Mr. Chickatano, that ideally you want to move towards that. But
Right, because we're seeing a strong need on the assessment side as well. There's still a clerical need there, not an administrative need. So that's what we were looking to revamp and bring before the salary board HR for review, which will probably be later this year.
Just to clarify, and again, we can't get into specifics on employee matters in public meetings, but the termination that I think you had affected was going to happen. That was something that you would decide regardless of, that's my understanding, is that you would decide that regardless of the restructuring that you would like to propose to us.
Well, yeah,
Is that
it's
correct?
all in combination, because like I said, we really did not see a need for a third administrative within tax claim. And to have three directors and one clerical, and have an assistant that was not truly doing administrative duties, it was more of a clerical based, that, yeah, we were looking to.
I just would like to mention also that I meet with Brenda a lot, often, and we've discussed a lot of issues with that, and I think she has some very good ideas on how to make the both departments more efficient, and those are things we're striving to do.
Right, and the biggest thing would be the cross-training. We need to have, and the people that you've employed are very competent, they're very devoted to their positions. Very happy to see the employees that you have here, so. But
Well,
we're
thank
hoping
you.
to better restructure and have a more efficient flow between the two as one combined office. So I don't.
Thank you. I respect your position, but I don't remember a time where a department can just have a conversation with one commissioner and eliminate that position. Even if your intentions are good and restructuring's a great idea, normally the way that is pitched is it comes before the salary board, you then speak, give us some sort of direction, and then it's voted on. I mean, this is somebody that on her hire sheet does not say terminated, it says elimination and restructuring. That's a salary board topic. No,
Understood.
I completely respect what you're saying, and I agree with you about cross-training. I just think that this should have been a salary board issue.
Yeah, and
I think
went
the
through
ultimate
the
elimination, and if we replace it with another one, will be, but it's just that, again, the termination that was requested, my understanding, it was requested regardless of whether or not we restructured
Right.
for other
Yeah,
reasons.
to clear up some issues we had.
Okay.
So, Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further on the question?
Mary Rose is going to make a
Motion.
revised motion
okay.
excluding number 18. And
Okay.
then we'll have a motion for just 18.
Okay, all right.
Motions need to approve the employee status sheet list of new hires, individuals no longer employed, promotions, demotions, transfers at items numbered 1 through 17, and then 19 through 29.
Motion,
So
is there a
moved.
motion? Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made second on the question. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motions need to approve the employee status sheet list of new hires, individuals no longer employed, promotions, demotions, transfers for item number 18.
So moved.
And I'll second the motion. On the question, all in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? One opposed. Motion carries.
Motions need to approve the following reports as listed on your public meeting agenda.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made second on the question. All in favor, state aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
This time, we recognize the controller for the bid openings of the supply and delivery of home heating oil for county buildings. They're opened on Monday, October 30th, 2017, at 10:30 a.m. in the Administration Center.
Northumberland County received 2 bids for supply and delivery of home heating oil. One from Superior Plus Energy Services of Aston, PA, for 17.39 cents per gallon. The second from Papco of Aston, PA, for 50 cents per gallon. Right?
I have a question. On my agenda, I have .1739, and you're saying 17.39.
Like the 17.3
Cents.
cents.
Okay.
17.39 cents
Okay.
versus 50
Okay.
cents.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
There's a big difference.
A motion is needed to award the bid for supply and delivery of home heating oil to county buildings to Superior Plus Energy Services at a cost of .1739 per gallon handling charge as recommended by the chairman.
A motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made second on the question. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion is needed to ratify the signature of the chairman on the engagement letter for Mayor Dussel to perform a financial audit for the 911 program as requested by the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency, PEMA, and submitted by 911 Coordinator Russell Fellman.
A motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made second on the question. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion is needed to ratify the commissioner's signatures on a support letter to Edward Cristiano, Executive Director of the Northumberland County Housing Authority, for consideration of Alert to Program for the proposed elderly apartment project along the Trevorton Road in the Township of Cole.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made second on the question. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion is needed to ratify the signatures of the commissioners on a letter of support designating the Evangelical Community Hospital in their intent to apply to PCCD's naloxone distribution project as a means of providing services, including the training of and distribution of naloxone to the region's first responders.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded on the question. All in favor, I'm sorry. It's similar. I'm referring to the experts here, our folks from the emergency management, so, yeah.
Okay, how much does that cost if insurance doesn't cover? How much would it cost for a heroin addict to get temporarily fixed on their issue?
I'm not aware of anyone
Would
being,
insurance cover that, or is it strictly paid by the county and why? If they're putting the needle in their arm, it's their fault. It should be their responsibility, not the taxpayer's responsibility, to cover that life-saving medication that's used. Is that covered by the county, or is it covered by medical insurance, or is it just written off?
this is actually covered through, this is what this is, the contract, this is PCCD is providing grants to suppliers. That's who covers our naloxone for all of our first responders.
Steve might be able to, my guess is at the state level is where the funding comes down through.
Grant, you cannot get that medication through your local pharmacy. police departments, the ambulance companies
Yeah.
fund that by themselves. That's a,
Through fundraisers or through taxes?
through their general funds, through, their costs to buy, certain medication.
It's
The
their
big-
choice to
to
stick
a
the
hospital
needle in their
or a paramedic service, they get a prescription just for them, and they go out and buy that. That's not funded by the state, as well as the police departments. They're prescribed that medication through the hospital or, through a medical directors, so forth like that. But for anybody in the public, we just can't go out and buy it.
Okay, so when it's administered by a first responder, it's ultimately paid for by the community?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
Why wouldn't the person that stuck the needle in their arm have paid for their life to be saved? If chemo patients, have to pay for their chemotherapy, and they didn't ask for it. A heroin addict is the one who stuck the needle in their arm.
This is a really tough subject, and it is. And honestly, I won't even sit here and offer my personal opinion on it, because I'm here as a
I have the right to
professional.
do that.
But, no, and I totally respect you, because we may share, we may not. The only reason why I'm saying that is because the Noxolone that's being supplied into this area, again, comes from other agencies. The Department of Health and a couple of other state agencies, in conjunction with the government, comes up with these programs. The stuff kind of just gets funneled downhill in Pennsylvania, but really, if you want to offer your opinion, your best bet is to go to your state level legislature, because that's where that's going to be coming from. What they're providing here, what they're saying they're providing, is really just a trickle down from another department. There are a lot of people just like you that share your same opinion.
I've been there, I've done that, and
It's just here
it just doesn't seem fair.
at this level, what they're doing is they're just passing this stuff along. They're really not, as commissioners, making the decision to do this, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just, trying to help you out there.
It just doesn't seem right. It was their choice. I mean, I can see if it's a disease that you can't, like cancer or, something that, it's not your fault. Okay, they claim that addiction is a disease, and I agree with that. You do need help, and you do need to want to get the help to get, to get over that. But it's something you brought on yourself. I just don't think that it's right that money that could be being spent somewhere else is being spent on a heroin addict who chose to stick the needle in his arm, or chose to use a dirty needle, or chose to stick somebody else with that needle. And in my opinion, it's not right. I don't know if it brought it up in the wrong place, but that's how I feel.
Asked to answer your question, I believe that this was part of the governor's, it was in the governor's budget, and I forget how many millions he set aside for money to be available to counties, to first responders, only in an emergency. This isn't for a prolonged prescription. This is, right,
This is bring them out of their overdose.
exactly.
People overdose, they get a shot of Narcan, and then 3 days later, they're at the same person's house doing it again.
Yep.
And it's costing unnecessary money, whether it be on county level, city level, national level. They
Understand what you're saying,
chose their illness.
right?
They can get help for their illness besides waiting for a cop to come and bring them out of their overdose. Or area services to bring them out of their overdose. And eventually, cut it. If they want to die, if they want to take a chance of dying, people with cancer pay for their medication, or people with long-term organ problems or anything, they have to pay for that, or they have to have insurance to pay for that. But a drug addict can overdose 3 times a week and get the same treatment for free. And I'm sure those shots aren't very inexpensive.
Understand.
Respect your opinion, and, again, in our role, we have certain things that we need to do because, decisions been made. Yeah, I mean, I think that Mr. Puffnack's correct that it's probably something you'd want to take up at the state level, maybe with your representative, because that's where some of these decisions get made, and we as the counties act then as an arm of the state oftentimes. It's sort of where the rubber meets the road. So, yeah, no, I understand. So, is there any other comment? Mhm. It's a complicated issue. We understand, and I appreciate your comments as well. So, thank you. Okay. I think that was, we did not take the vote yet, so, okay. Is there any other further comment on the question? Oh, we did, or, no, I'm sorry, not made the motion. We took the vote, though. Did we take the vote? I don't think we took the vote. Okay. So, all
Motion
right.
carried. Okay. A motion need to ratify the chairman's
We
signature.
didn't, or we didn't, no, we didn't,
Oh.
we didn't take the vote. We made the motion, had a second, I think. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, so we need to take the vote. So all in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Motions need to ratify the chairman's signature on the Northumberland County Local Elected Planning Committee Annual Update Off-Site Response Plans as submitted by LEPC Vice Chairman Stephen Jeffrey.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made second on the question. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motions need to authorize the chairman to sign the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency, PCCD, sub-grant award notification in the amount of $19,995 for the Clancy Carpentry PAC-TT program for the period of 7/1/17 to December 31st, 17, as submitted by Juvenile Court.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made second on the question. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motions need to appoint Ms. Natalie Wortman Sunbury as the Public Director and reappoint Mr. John Cobb Sunbury as the Farmer Director of the Northumberland County Conservation District Board of Directors, with terms beginning January 1st, 2018, and ending December 31st, 2021.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made second on the question. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motions need to reappoint Chairman Richard J. Schock as the Commissioner Representative to a one-year term on the Northumberland County Conservation District Board of Directors, with a term beginning January 1st, 2018, and ending December 31st, 2018.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made second on the question. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motions need to reappoint Chuck Hopta Jr. to the Wyoming Valley Levy Raising Mitigation Board for one-year term beginning January 1st, 2018, and ending December 31st, 2018.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made second on the question. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motions need to approve a memorandum of understanding between the County of Northumberland and Cadenzia Incorporated for the creation of a detox and rehabilitation program to be located at 500-502 Northumberland County Drive, Cole Township.
Motion.
So moved.
Okay, and I'll second. On the question?
I have a question. I read the contract, or it's not a contract, it's a memorandum of understanding, and it seems that we're entering into an agreement to allow a nonprofit to come in and paint, put new sewer system in, things like that to our property. They have all the licensing and all of that's taken care of in the memorandum. I guess what I'm asking is, why are we doing it like that? Why aren't we entertaining a lease at this time? What do you intend to do? Is this something that's going to be intended to be offset then later when you do enter into a lease? If somebody could speak to the initiative here.
We did meet with Cadenzia during one of the work sessions in the past week or two, and this is an 8-county initiative that we have been talking with Cadenzia for months for what it says their detox and rehabilitation center. I have talked a little bit with them on a contract type thing, but they wanted to go forward. I think the contract will probably come up at the next meeting for a vote. We haven't finalized anything yet, I think. I don't know, Frank,
I believe this allows them to move forward with some grant money that we're getting that's going to pay for this. That was my understanding.
My understanding was that we had not negotiated the terms or the proposed terms of a lease at this time. They wanted to come in and start fixing the place up in anticipation of the lease. They were made fully aware that the lease might not be approved at a meeting, and if they, whatever the improvements that they do to the place, if the lease isn't approved, that's on them. So they are making these improvements, and the risk is on them, not on us. And, I would prefer to get a lease done too, but we're not at that point, and apparently they needed to spend this money and start getting moving at this point. So as long as the risk was on them, I was okay with doing a memorandum of understanding, based upon the fact that if the lease isn't approved, that the risk is on them and the improvements made to the place would be in the county's favor. So looking out for the county's interest, I didn't see that that was a problem.
Any other questions? Oh, I'm sorry. No. That's
Yep,
right.
and they'll
But what we do know is there'll be yeah. And what we do know is that there'll be improvements made to the property that we own, that if we don't, again, as the solicitors indicated, the risk is on them. If we can't come to agreement, we have a property that just got improved.
The grants also, the grants total somewhere around $500,000 that they have to put into the property with no cost to us, so.
Is there anything further on the question? Okay. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion need to accept two payments, each in the amount of $500 from the Transcontinental Gas Pipeline Company, LLC, for two temporary workspace permits for dewatering purposes related to the construction of a natural gas pipeline of Northumberland County at parcels 001-00-077-083 in East Cameron Township and 00A-000-077-013 in Cole Township.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made second on the question. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion need to approve the following honorary letters to Mr. and Mrs. Ken Conrad Sunbury for their 65th wedding anniversary.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made second on the question.
I don't know if it's a question, but I just congratulate her, 65 years, wow. That's incredible. All right.
All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion is needed authorizing travel requests and attendance at the following workshop seminars as in accordance with the county's personnel manual travel reimbursement policy as listed on your public meeting agenda.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made second on the question. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll move on to the solicitor's report.
Before we get started, item C should be amended to, instead of being G4S Youth Services LLC, it should be True Core Behavioral Solutions LLC. Everything else about the contract is going to remain the same. True Core, GS4 changed its name to True Core. And it was after the initial draft was done, so I just had to redo it and change it to True Core, but all other terms of it would remain the same. It's not an assignment because it's the same entity, just changed its name. Beginning with item A, motion to adopt Resolution R-103-17, Inmate Housing Agreement between the Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Northumberland County Prison Board and Center County for obtaining space for housing of Northumberland County inmates.
So moved.
Second. I'll second. On the question?
I have a question, and I guess it would be A and B, probably same answer. If you're anticipating that we're going to be at the South Campus, my understanding is these leases, these contracts are for a year. They would negotiate for less time, or is there a requirement that we fill so many beds to get the rate that you did, or I'm just wondering why we're entering into another year's lease when we're also being told that the prison will be open in 6 months.
Yeah, I think that typically these have run from year to year, and to the extent that we don't house anybody there, in a given month, we may have one inmate at a particular facility, we may have 5 inmates at a particular facility until we move into the new complex. And that's as it has been for the last more than 2 years since the prison fire. So to the extent that there isn't anybody actually being housed there, we don't get charged. We get charged on a basis of how many are there per day, so at the point where we start moving them into the new facility, we won't be getting charged anything under the terms of these agreements, so. Is there any other question or comment? All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to adopt Resolution R-104-17, inmate housing agreement between the Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Northumberland County Prison Board and Clinton County for obtaining space for housing of Northumberland County inmates.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second on the question. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to adopt Resolution R-105-17, contract amendment to the lease agreement between Northumberland County and TrueCore Behavioral Solutions LLC for sharing of costs of repairing and replacing a portion of flooring on the leased premises.
Motion?
So moved.
Okay. I'll second on the question.
Okay, Attorney Garrigan, this might just be for you. So I'm looking at the addendum to the lease agreement,
Okay.
and the first paragraph says that this lease agreement was entered into on August 15th, 2017. What lease agreement was entered?
The original lease agreement between G4S and the county.
My understanding, that's not August, that was June. I know it was June. And then I'm going to refer you to your second addendum, okay? Whereas leaseor, us, G4S, previously executed a lease agreement dated May 8th, 2017, and that was the one that was ratified in June, okay? Then it says, whereas leaseor and G4S previously executed an addendum to a lease agreement dated August 15th, 2017. This is the addendum. This says it was executed, and it's up for vote today.
It was not executed, that's incorrect.
Okay, well then, back to the addendum. This lease agreement entered into on 15th day of August, 2017.
I agree, it should be May 8th, 2017. It should be May 8th, 2017. The original agreement is May 8th, 2017, if that's what the
But-
date is.
But then, why do we have two paragraphs here where one contract was entered into May 18th and another one was entered into August 15th? And we only have one contract that we voted on here.
Again, it's my understanding that if we're talking about the original lease agreement, I think you are correct.
This is talking about two. I understand what you're saying, that you could change this to be the May 8th, 2017, but that doesn't really address that it's noted also here. That's your second addendum.
Is the addendum, I think you're referring to the addendum that comes up later on here, which is the adjustment in the lease amount. And
I'm
it's
not sure about the
referencing,
resolution, or about
Yeah.
what's on the agenda. That was, I
Okay,
drafted the
well,
agreement.
I'm saying that it's making reference to something that was executed in August of this
My
year.
understanding is at this point in time, the only thing that's executed is the original lease agreement between the county and G4S, which
I
is
think there
now
was,
TrueCore.
I do think there was discussion, you probably had a draft of that addendum possibly with respect to the flooring, because that's been, we've discussed that with them for a while, so
Since at
maybe,
least August.
yeah, but I don't think it was actually ever executed,
No.
so.
So is this addendum going to reflect the May 2017? So that will be amended. Your amendment will be amended.
There's two amendments to the lease.
I'm talking about the one we're on right now,
Okay.
First Amendment,
The First Amendment is
for the carpet.
for the carpeting, right. So there's the original lease agreement, that will be the First Amendment to the lease agreement, which is that we share the carpeting costs.
Right, I'm
Which
only
should-
talking
and it
about
should-
that
And
one.
that should reference back exclusively to the May 8th
Okay,
lease. And then there's a second one, which is further down on the agenda as F. Again, that's a second amendment to the lease, because the first one's going to be assuming that the first one.
So in
So
other
that would be
words-
able to just reference the original lease as well, since we're doing them both here at the same
Right.
time, doesn't need to reference.
and now, I want to talk about this carpet deal, because it's probably the oddest thing that I've ever seen as an attorney, between a leasee and a leaseor. So there's an estimate for carpet to our property in the amount of $19,000 and change, okay? And it's written there, the specifics. And that we now agree to pay $12,000 towards that improvement. Okay, it's our property. G4S agrees to pay $8,000 towards that improvement. All right. It would be excusable if we would then reduce their amount of rent by the money they've paid for the improvement to our property. But this amendment goes on to say something that is, I cannot wrap my head around this. It says, the parties hereto agree that for that, in consideration of leaseor's contribution, our contribution to the flooring, and their previous contribution, that they get to then pay $10,000 for their rent. So in other words, we're not reducing their $30,000 by 8, we're reducing their rent by much more than that for what we've paid. So I need somebody to explain that to me, because this makes absolutely no sense. Normally, when somebody's leasing your property and they make an improvement, it's acceptable to get a dollar for dollar credit towards their rent. Everybody can understand that, okay? Here, they're getting dollar for dollar credit for $8,000, and then we're also giving them dollar for dollar credit what we put into it. Now, why would we do that?
All right, Frank, can I speak? First of all, TrueCore had put in at the time, and I've made many trips up there, somewhere between $70,000 and $80,000 into the property. They ran fiber optics all the way down from the road, all the way up to the building, all the way through the building, new security system, they did all the landscaping, all the furniture was refurbished by them, cleaning of all the properties was done by them. And then they came to this flooring, and they came and asked for a proposal, if we would be willing, since it is our property, to help with the flooring. At that time, they had put so much in, that they felt they were starting to hire people that maybe we could help out with that, because it is our property. What Commissioner Best is referring to, at that time, there was never any vote on it, so it was never approved. It was just a discussion. At that time, if I'm right, TrueCore sent a check to the county in the amount of $8,000. Is that correct, Kevin? Correct. And since we had that check, what we basically said is if this thing would be approved, that $8,000 we would just keep, and the rent would reflect our $12,000 plus the $8,000 that they already sent to us. That was their money. And that's why it would have, if it passes, would be reduced to $10,000. So they already paid the $8,000 and sent it to Kevin before anything was even done. They just did it. And so that's how that came to a $10,000 if it's passed, payment for them for rent.
What do you mean if it's passed? You already made the deal, their
It isn't.
rent was already discounted. What makes you think that you can just reduce their rent, give them credit for something they've done to our property, and then give them credit for what we've done to our property, change the terms of their rent, accept payment for it, and it's never been voted on or approved until now? okay, until now. And this has been, they made the payment back in August, which is probably why there's an August date on this now, to make it look like, okay, we made the deal in August 17th, and then we sent the payment on August 31st, so nothing to see here. Okay, you don't, this is not how government works. You can't make side deals with people that we're renting property to, accept money, have ledgers where the dates don't match up, and now come and say, oh, you know what? We're going to vote on that now. So what does that mean? If we would vote no, and you know we're not going to because you have 2 votes.
If we would vote no,
we would
I
ask
have
them for
already
more
talked
money?
to TrueCore. They already said they would reimburse the amount that they deducted.
Well, you know what makes that possible? Because the next addendum is they're going to be paying us half rent. So that would be really easy to do, wouldn't it? I mean, has anybody ever heard of that? You own a home, you're going to lease it out. Your tenant puts $8,000 into that property. You put 12 in, and you give them credit not for the 8,000, but for the 8,000 and the 12,000. You don't put it in writing, you just take it. You put it in the bank, and then you decide later whether or not that's okay.
I think you had indicated there was the fiber optics and some other things that.
There was-
were
there-
Where's
put
the
in.
contract for
But
those?
frankly,
Where's
but
the
frankly,
contract for those?
well, they did that on their own. They can put, they
Exactly.
can improve the property.
Exactly, but where
But
is-
then
where are they
ultimately, when it
getting
came to
credit
this,
for
I
that?
think that what Mr.
They aren't
Chicatano
getting
negotiated
credit.
with them is he said that they said, listen, we've already put this stuff in, which we had no obligation to reimburse them for necessarily, but then when it came to the flooring,
Oh, but you
we
do
talked to them about
you do
this.
have an obligation to reimburse them for, because the contract that you sign puts us on the hook for everything, for maintenance, for improvements, on a 20-year-old property, mind you. Okay, so when that roof goes bad, we would have to do that. And not only is this the only side deal that we've made, and as you see, the addendum doesn't include giving them credit for fiber optics or anything like that. It just does this backflip to give them credit, like $22,000 or something credit for carpet, okay? And, you know, let's forget the fact that we put improvements in carpet over the $10,000 mark that the county code requires us to put out for bid. But let's just forget that we've improved our property. We didn't go through the normal process of doing that. Okay, so
I'm sorry,
that's
just a
another
point of
problem.
clarification, what is the bid threshold?
10,000.
Threshold is 9.
But the whole thing's 19. So when,
My understanding of this is that under the terms of the original lease, the responsibility for flooring would be, the floor replacement and repairs would be on TrueCore. But TrueCore approached the county and said, since they have this large amount of carpet when they moved in, would the county be willing to cost of this?
that's the key, would the county be willing?
And I think it was, and I,
Apparently we were.
That's the question at this point, is that if we are willing, then this is since we've already received funds, this is how we would handle it. If we aren't willing, then at that point, we'd have to go back and get the money from it.
and I'd just like to point out as well, all of these things, when they have come up, because as Commissioner Best points out, originally this came up back in August, when I believe it was around that timeframe that the request was made. These have been talked about in multiple work sessions, which are public work sessions. So
It is
nothing was
not
done under-
legal to talk about these kinds of things, and in fact,
in a public work session?
Okay.
I defer to the
Let
solicitor's
me just
opinion
tell
on
you
whether or not we
something.
can
It's not
talk
that you
about these
talked
things.
about it, you actually accepted the deal.
Yeah.
You accepted the deal, and now you're
Well,
voting on it.
The deal was
Now
not
you're voting on
accepted.
it.
We never, did we sign a contract? The addendum was not signed, and frankly.
Now it's dated
They
back. It's
apparently-
backdated
we
to
can
August
date it today.
17th,
I think
2017.
Okay, and Frank, I think that probably what happened was, because this was originally, there was a draft that was put together, but this had not been finalized, that probably was dated August. It should be frankly dated today.
Fine.
Because this is the date that we're approving it, and we'll be signing it as of today if
I
it's
drafted this
approved.
back in August. I just don't think it was put on a meeting in August, and it's fallen through till now.
And in terms of the 8,000, I agree, we probably, what should have been done was that should have been sent back until we had the approval, but I guess they must have sent it in thinking that, again, them not being aware of the fact that we needed to have in front of the meeting, and that they didn't, I guess, have the signed agreement.
They're
They must
not
have
aware.
processed it, and they sent it in to us, so. Okay. There's been discussion on it. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, one opposed, motion carries. We're up to D.
Sorry. Motion to adopt Resolution R 106-17, snow removal agreements between the Northumberland County Commissioners on behalf of the Northumberland County Engineer and the Borough of Milton and the Independence Fire Company for the removal of snow from county bridges located in the Borough of Milton and the City of Shamokin.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second on the question. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to adopt Resolution R 107-17, readoption of a resolution for action plans and policies in accordance with the federal and state regulations of the CDBG program.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second on the question. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion?
Aye.
Oh, okay, motion carries.
Motion to adopt Resolution R 108-17, grant agreement between the Northumberland County Commissioners on behalf of the Northumberland County Emergency Management Agency and the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency for the 2018 Act 165 Hazardous Material Response Fund, HMRF, in the amount of $14,704.61 to aid the county's emergency management agency in meeting their needs, objectives, and goals.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second on the question. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to adopt Resolution R 109-17, second addendum to lease agreement between the County of Northumberland and TrueCore Behavioral Solutions LLC for the amending of the rental amount and payment responsibilities for taxes, assessment, and utilities on the leased premises.
Motion?
So moved.
I'll second. On the question?
Is the amendment now going to be dated today's date?
Yes. Yes.
What's the differences? What was the previous rental amount and the new rental amount? And what was the previous payment responsibility for taxes, assessment, and utilities?
Frank, do you want to address that since you would get that
The,
before us?
I believe the previous rental amount was $30,000. It was dropped down to $15,000?
It was 15,000 during this
And-
period
and
until they
it's a
get
pe-
their
it's-
approvals from
It's
the,
dropped down to 15 for the period pending either 1 year or TrueCore reaching an agreement with the Shamokin Area School District and the passing of the state budget.
So it's a temporary.
we had
Can I-
already reduced, the agreement was at the very beginning, I think it was the first
Yeah, can
2 or 3 months. it was
Can I
15.
address it? When the
Yeah.
agreement was made and the meetings were set up, there's always a startup rent, because of course they have no clients, they have no one there. It's when they started doing the cleaning, so the natural agreement was for the first 2 months, $15,000 with us paying utilities and everything, because we didn't expect much there, and it was in the summer anyway. And then $30,000 after that. And what happened was, a letter at the last work session came where they requested, because they were not able to have any clients because of the state proposed budget and their dealings with the school district, they still had no clients. They had 26 employees hired, mostly from our county, mostly people who either worked out of the county and are now working here, or who didn't have jobs. So what they did was request a reduction, and actually when they had the startup and they said they only needed 2 months for startup, I was very surprised that they only needed 2 months, but that was their expectations, to start up in 2 months. And of course, as everyone knows, they weren't able to get any clients yet. So their request is to reduce it to $15,000 like it was at the startup time until they resolve these matters that they have. The only difference is in this, they proposed to pay with the $15,000 all the cost also, which they didn't pay before. The utility cost.
Yeah.
You know, for the heat and everything, of course, because of the winter coming up. So that was their proposal. will pay, oh yeah, all the utilities, everything.
Okay, so this second addendum, and I'm sure this is just also a typographical error, says that it was entered into blank day of October 2017. And then it goes down to the second whereas. It makes reference to the August contract executed August 15th, 2017, which now we're saying doesn't exist. And then we're gonna look a little bit at this because I find this really quite something. The first paragraph here talks about the monthly rental owed, all right? And it goes on to say, the monthly rental amount owed by leasee to leaseor pursuant to Section 3 of the lease agreement of May 8th, 2017, shall be $15,000 per month. Now, here's where it gets interesting. It gives them the choice. So they're going to pay this $15,000 a month, either A, a period of 1 year, beginning with the payment due and owing on November 1st, 2017, or door number B, until such time the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania passes a budget for the blank year, not even this year, blank year, and it's an and, leasee comes to terms with Shamokin Area School District as to a rental amount for the proposed classroom space. And you gotta love this, folks, because Shamokin is being asked to pay TrueCore, the first deal, the first offer was $10,000 a month, so that they could teach kids at TrueCore's location. So it's not that TrueCore is teaching the kids. No, Shamokin School District has the added burden on their budget of teaching these kids, and then they have the privilege of paying TrueCore $10,000 to do that. So no kidding that that's not happening right now. But what's interesting about this is, to your answer to your question, sir, you know, how long do they pay this $15,000? Is it a startup, as he says? Well, look, they have, I mean, this is a heck of a deal. They have an option. Option A, we can do that for a full year. So at any time, whether they have clients, whatever, they could choose to pay $15,000. Or they could choose until the Commonwealth passes a budget in any year whatsoever, okay? And comes to terms with Shamokin, gets their money from those Shamokin taxpayers, okay? So that's, it doesn't say sooner or the latter. It doesn't say, you know, if one happens before the other and the other one's incomplete anyway, so this is like not even, this is the most ridiculous, irresponsible contract I have ever seen in my entire life. Okay, and then the second one says, Section 4 of the lease agreement shall be amended that leasees shall now be responsible for the full amount of any and all taxes, assessments, utilities, you know, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I find this interesting because June of 2017, Mr. Shikatano emails these people and tells them, Frank, our solicitor, says, here's a list of the duties of the responsibilities entering in this lease, and here's the duties of G4S, okay? And then it says pay taxes and assessments, if any, and then in quotations it said there should never be any. Okay, so we have a commissioner telling a for-profit company, not a nonprofit, a for-profit company, don't worry about those taxes. Now, I don't know if you folks realize this, but that's your money. That's your money. He's making decisions outside of a meeting with absolutely your complete ignorance of what is going on. And I have been literally trying to light my hair on fire to tell you people. And let me explain to you why this is metered out in doses like this, okay? Because it is the goal of these folks down here, particularly the two on the end, to get this for-profit business, okay, to get our kids to make money. They're in it to make money, and we're helping them by telling them on the side, don't worry about the taxes. You know what? We put the carpet in, but we're going to give you a break on that. And you know what? You can continue to pay us $15,000 a month unless you don't feel like it. But hey, if your money comes in and you get kids for $400 a head, you still don't have to pay us $30,000 because you could choose door number A. You get a whole year to make profit off of our children. Now, I mean, I am so sorry, but if this was such a straightforward deal, let me tell you how this would go, okay? There would be a contract in front of us to lease that with no strings attached, okay? The very first version of this contract refers to services that they're going to then provide. And I ask the press to ask, we're all searching for this addendum. Where is it? What services are they going to provide? And then I am so insulted because they come up with, hey, here's the services, carpet. No, 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 no. The services provided is a packet of what they're going to provide. Human services for kids, juvenile delinquents, drug-addicted kids, mental capability, disability children, okay? This is the packet that gets sent to the state. And I had a lovely conversation with a senior member at the Department of Human Services, and it went something like this. TrueCore's licenses, and they're operating and moving forward, the application has the following three. Services program description, number one, okay? 2, all licenses for the people that are gonna work there and to be able to operate there. And then 3, the educational component of this, okay? So let's go to number 1. She then proceeds to tell me there is a services provided addendum. It's rather large, and she has it as part of TrueCore's application to the Department of Human Services. I asked to see that. She says, forgive me for being a little stunned, but you would have had to approve this. It goes to the commissioners first. Why? I'll tell you why. Because then there's a rate set and approved where they can charge each kid per day, anywhere from $340 to $400 per kid per day. They want to maximize their profit, all right? So if we accept the rate, and then what we do is we bill the state, we take the state's money, and we give it to a for-profit business, much like the carpet, right? We're helping a for-profit entity capture all of your state taxes, and we're contributing our county taxes by making them deals like, I'm not gonna charge you tax and assessment county for your building up there. We're gonna pay for your carpet. We're gonna pay for your heat. And it's only because you start breathing down the neck and realize that, hey, maybe Shamokin's not gonna meet that third element because they are required to provide education for these kids. Okay, and Shamokin is not so far playing ball with them to their credit. So I asked for that document, and they said you should have that document. I've been asking for that document. The press has been asking for that document. We don't have it. It's like a moving target. And I'm begging you folks to pay attention because we've seen this before. You want to know when we've seen this? This is Northwestern Academy 2.0. And someone here on the board, their brother, a former county employee, led us down that primrose path. They are now in a lawsuit suing Shamokin School District for $29 million, okay? This is the type of tactics. And the people that they're telling you that work here, that work for TrueCore, the locals, all from Northwestern. The attorney from Northwestern, all right? So I don't know what's going on, but I know that people are spending your money and they don't want any sunshine on this. They don't want me to ask questions. They don't want you to ask questions. And they want it to come out slow and metered over time so that you lose track of what is going on. Because I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it's hard for me to keep it up. I have a chart in my office at home to try to keep track on who's on first and who's on second. And let me explain to you. They're going to dangle jobs, and they're going to dangle your heartstrings with, we're trying to help kids. We're just trying to help kids. Okay? Later today, there's a contract in here for the York County Commissioners. They run a youth facility center, much like TrueCore wants to run. You want to know what the difference is? They get higher reimbursement because of their community-based program, and they have public oversight. Because if the commissioners start abusing kids or stealing your tax dollars or manipulating them through misdated and inappropriate contracts, then there's going to be people to pay for that when the voters come out. This is clever because this doesn't do that. We're making money, see? $30,000 a month. How many will pay attention when it's reduced to 15? And how long will it be 15? I don't know. Depends how much Shamokin's going to pay. We're going to create jobs. See, most of the jobs, I can tell you, have already been fulfilled. And they're going to be lower paying jobs, and there's no oversight over what goes on up there. And it's all for a company that must make profit to survive. And this is evidence that so far their formula is not profitable. So where do they come when they need to be profitable? To us, the guardian of your tax dollars. We are not here to make them profitable. I mean, can you imagine? And this isn't, mind you, an industry where we're helping the industry out and they're promising to bring good paying jobs here. This is somewhere where we're going to lock up our kids. So I have been a criminal defense attorney for my entire career, and the majority of what I did in the first 10 years is juveniles. Juveniles that have problems at home, that are addictive, that have truancy issues, all of the above. And some years ago, I was very proud, after I was a court administrator, to help institute some of the treatment courts that we have in this county. They are beacons. They help taxpayers by keeping people out of prisons, okay? And they help kids. Juvenile court keeps our community's children in our community. It holds parents accountable. It makes them do community service. It puts them back in public school, and we know statistically, and I defy you to find anything less, which is why the government gives you more reimbursement for this plan. It works. Kids don't end up criminals. They don't end up being criminals. So if you really care about children, do it yourself and get 80% reimbursement. No. What is really going on is we really care about this for-profit company, and I'm asking you, ask why? This company has an appalling record. They have been sued. It's an international appalling record. Abuses of children, counties that had to sue them because they didn't get the services provided. And I can't even speak intelligently to you all about what those services would be for Northumberland County, because apparently it was approved by this board and sent to the state. And now it's part of TrueCore's application. So I am telling you that there's something not right. And there has been a lot of agreements made on the side, and there's probably a good reason for that. And I am begging you all to pay attention. Northwestern didn't make it, and they went bankrupt for a reason. 2.0 is not the way to go. Keeping our children, Northumberland County's children in our community, and giving them the best future that we can is what works, and it's reimbursable at a higher rate than this travesty. Not mixing them with kids from Philadelphia County, not mixing them with kids from Dauphin County. And I've seen it, I've worked it, I've been on the front lines, I've been in court, I've seen these juveniles return. This is the last chance that you get to fix a kid. This is it. And we have a responsibility, because our number one responsibility isn't making sure that TrueCore profits, it's human services. Amen.
Okay. Yes. Mm-hmm.
You mentioned A, B, and C. I mean, when was this amendment drawn up? Is it after the work session, or did you have any input into that?
I have no input. The state just seemed to think that that was approved by the county commissioners.
I think I can respond to that.
Sure you can.
All of this was discussed at work sessions that we had with representatives of TrueCore. That's correct. If you were to look over the last year, our informational sessions where these types of things get discussed, she has missed 88% of them.
I did attend the G4S meeting when they came in to
The
sell
initial
us
one.
their bill of goods.
In the drafting of this amendment for A, B, C, where we're going to get taken advantage of if it's approved today.
Here's what they do.
With the budget being no year and with
Oh, I don't know. I've never seen that
actually,
document.
how about we have our solicitor clarify that, because he's the one who has drafted the document. Frank, would you like to clarify some of those comments in terms of the language of the addendum? Sure.
In regard to the budget year, when I sent that through to Karen, it was my understanding that the current budget year would get filled in. I didn't know whether or not we were currently, because I didn't, whether we were currently in the 17 budget or 2017, 2018, so it just was supposed to be referenced in there as the current budget year. And I think that the insertion of the year, of current year, would be fine. I'd be, it was always the intention that it be the current budget year, and I just wasn't sure whether or not we put down 2017 year, which one, I wasn't sure which budget had been passed or which one was awaiting passage. So that's the reason that that was left empty, and when I forwarded it on, I think I had an email where I said, I got to get an answer to that, and
I think it should be A or B and forget about C, because they knew that coming into, that they have to educate these students, They knew that would have been part of their package, their plan. I mean, that's what they do. So why do we even have a C, contingent on C? It should be.
They are not educated.
It's not
the school
profitable for them
district.
to do that.
And also, just to clarify, because there were statements made in the press, I guess through her letter, Ms. Best saying that the Shamokin taxpayers would foot the bill for this. There is a system with the state. That's how companies like TrueCore get their funding.
No.
I allowed you to go on
That's what
for
the
what,
$29
half an
million
hour?
lawsuit's
And
for.
I think maybe I'll be allowed to speak now. At any rate, there is a system that's in place. In fact, there was a court case dating back to 2008 regarding Northwestern, and our current president, Judge Saylor, clarified some of those points as well. My understanding is that TrueCore has continued to have their discussions with Shamokin School District, and I would imagine that they will work out whatever arrangement is going to be suitable for both of them. This situation is a lessor-lessee relationship. We have not contracted with TrueCore to provide any services for the county, and in fact, it would be a judge who would have to decide whether or not this type of service is appropriate for a particular youth. Right now, if you were to talk to the folks in our juvenile probation department, they would tell you we do have some juveniles who currently are using similar types of services like this in other parts of the states. You run a spectrum of offenses and things like that. So we have the vast majority of what we spend.
You would not be required to send them to TrueCore.
No. In fact, I don't know. It may be that there aren't any that go here from Northumberland County, but the fact of the matter is that, in fact, Kevin, I hate to put you on the spot, but you might be able to speak a little bit to this as the court administrator. We don't have anybody from probation here, but currently we do provide services some services are in-home, some are community-based, some are, when you get to certain offenders, community-based or in-home isn't a viable option because of the natures of offenses, the natures of what the child's going through, perhaps the nature of the home. And so there is a spectrum of services that are offered. TrueCore offers this service at this end of the spectrum. There's all these other things that we're providing here as well. That isn't going to change in Northumberland County, and that isn't a decision that we as commissioners make as to the appropriate placements for children. And again, I can get it. There's a number of inaccuracies that were put out both in the letter to the editor by Ms. Best. I've frankly not had the time at this point to go through, but I will have a written response to each of those things. But again, at this point, all of these things and all of these issues and potential, thoughts about what this means in terms of our youth, all of these things were discussed over multiple sessions with TrueCore, all of which were out on the commissioner's calendar. Many of them were in our public work sessions, which the public doesn't tend to come to, but they are invited. They're advertised in the newspaper. For whatever reason, the public and the press tend not to come to those, but they are certainly welcome to, and it's advertised along the same as our other public meetings. And contrary to what she's saying, all of these things can be appropriate topics for those. You just can't vote on them. That's why you have a work session. That's why work sessions exist, is to allow things to get done. In the year ended October 31st, there was I think since the beginning of us kind of monitoring this, because again, we come to these meetings and Commissioner Best will say, I didn't know anything about this. Well, we started monitoring and saying, listen, who taking attendance at all of our meetings. There have been, since I believe it was June of 16, which is when we started taking attendance, just because of that, through the end of October, almost 150 informational meetings on various topics, on our healthcare coverage and plans, and talking to different providers to save money, to do things. Almost 150, it's 145, I think, meetings have been missed by Commissioner Best. Many of these were scheduled, and everybody agreed to the dates of them back at the beginning of each year for the work sessions and for the staff meetings. I can't control that. We can't stop everything that we're doing in order to do that. A lot of these issues she's talking about, we bring up and we're discussing, and we discuss them with the providers. The other things and I would say, and I think when I calculated, but for the last year ended October 31st of this year, that constituted 88% of the informational meetings that we had. And frankly, I'm being very generous on some of the others because we've had work sessions where we schedule a work session, and those typically last a morning because a lot of information, we have people come in where I gave her saying she showed up. She came for the last 15 minutes of it. We like an hour and a half into it or something like that, or an hour and 45 minutes into it. Again, I don't say that to pick on anybody, but when we're working through all of these issues, to bring them up long after the fact, that to me is not someone who wants to work towards solutions for the county and come about the best way of doing things. That's someone who wants to criticize and who wants to, I guess, get attention in the media and things like that. With respect to this, the issue of TrueCore being private, the actual funding system that the state has in place recognizes, and there's some really interesting information you can get out there from various organizations, including many universities who have basically think tanks that deal with the issue of juvenile placements and things like that, where they talk about the fact that in Pennsylvania, when that was established, it was established, and that funding, those funding streams were established in order to allow counties, who are the ones who have to make these placements, to allow them a spectrum of service types, and that they wouldn't have to, which provided all themselves, and have their own employees who were specially trained in all these things, because that's prohibitively expensive. Very few counties would do that. Only your largest ones, potentially in Philadelphia and the Pittsburgh area, might have their own staff who do this. It's just you can't afford it. So again, this is one element of the spectrum. We are not actually contracting with them for the provision of any services. Our relationship with them is that of a landlord and a tenant. And when we made the decision to go with this complex, it was with the idea that we would have buildings available to provide these other services on the spectrum. We aren't going to be able to provide all of them. We will still contract with other outside agencies. Some of them will provide ourselves. Others will be with profit or nonprofit. Gaudenzia is coming in, as well into one of those buildings. They have people who are trained in doing the detox and rehabilitation. But to the extent that she's mentioning about this, the other addendums to the agreement, what she could have done, as opposed to having a reporter come down. I wasn't here. I wasn't here the day that it happened, that this occurred. But my understanding is that she was down at the office, which was a rarity. The reporter was there with her. He came in and asked our chief clerk for a copy of these addendums. She's in the middle of doing a lot of other very important work for the county. And, sorry, Justin, but we don't drop everything we're doing to, search for something that wasn't immediately in the file that they were looking for. What the mistake was that I think occurred was when we did the final signed agreement, someone forgot to drop the hard copies of the addendums in. When I heard that this was going on, I put a call in. A few days later was when I heard it, and I called our solicitor, who I knew was the one who would have been drafting the agreement. I said, what are the, I couldn't even remember back to when this was approved, like what the addendums were, so forth. Took him 2 minutes. He was able to pull it up, and he showed it to me, and all it is, the one addendum is a aerial photo of the buildings in the area, circled to identify what was being leased. The other one was, frankly, a document that was given to us by TrueCore when they came to meet with us, a meeting, not surprisingly, that Commissioner Best did not come to, but was on our calendar for everyone to come to, and that, frankly, she would have a copy of it. Because whenever they give us things like that at the meetings, she's usually not there, but what we do is we take any of that stuff and it goes in an inbox outside of her office. What she does with it beyond that, I don't know. Again, I think we've had this conversation. I'm not here to spoon feed everything to her. That's why we have the meetings, so that we can have the information in front of us, so we can exchange ideas. We can exchange concerns, just like the ones that she's expressing today. That doesn't happen. It happens after the fact in some grand fashion to accomplish something other than, working towards a solution, in my opinion. That addendum that basically was an overview of their company, and it was, and actually I think the first page of it had been mailed to all of us by them, and we have the email showing it went to all the commissioners. And then the second part of it was something that they brought to that meeting. I think it was the second time that they met with us. Again, she's had it since, I think, December was when we had that meeting. So that was in an inbox or something that she had since December of 2016. This mystery document. Similar, think of it as the new Gary Steffen report. The document that the press ran around and created, probably 6 front-page headlines about, and that she concocted an entire story about how I somehow destroyed a hard drive and did all this stuff. And as it turns out, when they finally talked to Gary Steffen, he said, I don't know what report, I didn't do a report. I jotted a few notes down on a tablet on one page, and I don't even know what I did with it. So that's why we don't have Mary Rose go on a wild goose chase for something. She basically took as a records request, and she waited until, to give it to our solicitor. We didn't know what addendum she was talking about. Was she talking about addendums that we knew we were planning on approving at this in draft form? That's why it was given to our solicitor for a legal review. Are we required to give that to you now? It's not officially a document yet, that sort of thing. So again, it makes for a very good story, makes for a lot of headlines and so forth, but when you boil it all down, what's involved here is we have a commissioner who, frankly, is not involved at all. Other than coming into a meeting, and she will look for the information that she wants to find, not all of it. When we sit in these meetings, we don't always agree on things. We bring up concerns about certain things, and we talk about those and work through them and decide whether or not we want to go a particular route. That's what those meetings are for. Again, I can't make her come to them. But frankly, again, we're not going to communicate via reporter on this stuff. Had she actually wanted to know where the addendums were or what they were, she would just ask our solicitor, because they're in the email and attached and identified as addendums when he sent the agreement out for signature to the other party, to TrueCore. And we were all aware of them back at the time when it went on, at least those of us that were involved. And she, in fact, had a copy of them. She may not have known that they were ended up being made the addendums to the lease. The other thing I would just point out, and then we can move on.
Okay.
Oh, no, wait a minute. No, wait. You had a half an hour.
Let me know when you're done with my report card, then we can get back to the issue.
Well, you've issued your report card. Here's the other thing. Well, I just want to point this out, though, sir. The addendum she's talking about that talks about their services, again, our relationship with TrueCore is that of a landlord and a tenant. When we did this and when we purchased this property, the idea was that we'd be able to, we had now buildings that we could bring in these types of services to have a spectrum of approach to corrections, to drug abuse and addiction, all of those things that are big issues for our county, frankly. But at the end of the day, if we didn't have a Gadenzia or someone like TrueCore who wanted to lease these buildings, we'll lease them to someone who wants to serve ice cream cones out of them. So it didn't matter, in terms of the lease agreement, what was in that addendum describing what they wanted to do is largely irrelevant. I think that we just wanted to have an addendum showing, listen, what they're doing is lawful, lawful activity. You don't want to lease something to someone and they're doing something illegal. So, but at the end of the day, again, if there's buildings that are available and someone wants to lease them as office space, or they want to run a copier company out and make copies for Xerox copies for people, we'll lease it to them.
For the record, again, on this motion to adopt, am I hearing that you're going to, we have a May 8th lease agreement. We don't have anything dated August 15th, correct? Nothing.
That's right.
No, the original, I think I think the reason why basically they printed off the draft agreements here and brought them in. Originally, that agreement was being contemplated back in August. It was never signed. That's right.
We have a May 8th lease agreement.
That's correct.
And now we have the second addendum that's going to be voted on today, dated for today, and that the blank state contract, Part B, is going to say 2017.
That's correct. And actually, there are two addendums that were voted on today, one with respect to how we want to handle the flooring, and one with respect to the abatement in the lease payment. So.
Something did get, thank you, Commissioner Best, for pointing out the blank dates for the Part B.
Sir, if all you've got from that is that, then I didn't do my job, because what I'm trying to tell you is,
I think what I've been, since I retired, I've been coming to these meetings, and I respect you. But what I find at fault is not attending the work sessions, which I think maybe I should start attending, and maybe have more attendance to. I don't know why.
You're free to do that, and we can give you the date, sir.
sir,
My first feedback when I came to these meetings was everything is, it's all decided upon. It's yes, no, or abstain.
that's not legal, sir. It's not.
Actually, it is. If you discuss, if it is legal to, in the work sessions, because you've advertised them and the public can come to them, we are free to talk about our opinions about things. So when we come in here, is it legal to vote on it at that? No. But the people who have attended the work sessions have had an opportunity to discuss the ideas and what we agree or don't agree with, and try to fashion something that we think we can all agree on, and then put it in front of everybody for a vote.
That's the only thing I find disappointing that you're,
Sir, I have spent hours and days researching this issue, and I just want to leave you with a couple of issues. Our solicitor, Attorney Garrigan, was also searching for that addendum. Our administrative assistant confirmed that, and there was a note to her about that, and that we might have to vote for it all over again because it wasn't attached the way it reads in the contract. That's just one thing. I've been coming in here 3 to 4 times a week, talking to people about employment matters and researching this issue and looking for the addendum. I was not told until late of last week, oh, you know what? Frank, our attorney, typed it up, here it is, and it was about carpet. Now, you have to contrast that with the state telling me that that is not what should be attached. And by the way, I sent them the copy of everything that I had, okay? That's not what is attached. That is not what is required. Here's what you should be looking for, all right? You can take exception with the fact that I do not attend all of the work sessions. You can take exception with the fact that I don't attend 88% of what's on the agenda. I do cherry pick when I show up for those. My time is very valuable, and the county is valuable as well. But G4S came in the first time. I attended that meeting. Then I started doing my own independent research, who this company is, what their track record is, are they in Pennsylvania, et cetera, et cetera. I would not want to be in the same room with a company like that, and I invite you to research that company, sir. There's a reason that they have changed their name, all right? And all I'm saying to you, sir, is if I do not think it's in the best interest of all of you or our children, I am not going to sit 2 to 4 hours listening to something where they are making agreements with companies in a quorum in private. And it's not all done, believe me. He wants you to believe that it's on the agenda for the workshops. You can get the agendas for the workshops. It does not say negotiate contract with G4S. I guarantee you, sir, it does not, okay? I come if our state representative is here, if UMPC is here, if there are new business opportunities, I make a point of being here. I will not take part in employee restructuring where it's supposed to come before the salary board and we hear the reason why, but we sent somebody home packing last week in tears, okay, because she was told her job was eliminated. Okay, I will not take part in things like that because I'm telling you they're not legal. They are not legal for decisions to be made. Of course, they don't stand there and they vote on them, but they knew it would be okay, as evidenced today. They knew that they could put carpet in and we would reduce the rent. In fact, they did, sir. And then they want you to believe that, well, we have yet to vote on it, so we might not get our way. Are you kidding me? And I guess if that's the kind of government you're okay with, that happens behind closed doors, then you and I disagree. I am passionate about letting people know what is going on with their money. And you are a township supervisor or something, you have some involvement with municipal government, all right? They meet, borough councils, they meet and they talk about the agenda. They talk about it in open public forum. That is not the same thing. He wants you to believe that it is. He wants you to believe that they said, all right, you put the carpet in, we'll knock $12,000 off your rent. And that's okay, sir. That's not okay. And I'm sorry, I apologize if you're disappointed in me, but I am doing the very, very best that I can. And I have put a ton of hours into this. A ton of hours. I talk routinely to our budget director, our controller, my administrative assistant. I talk to people that are in the know about how this works. I called the state myself and had conversations with them. I go to borough meetings. I go to school board members and discuss the issue with them. I am doing these things on your behalf, sir. And I mean, I don't know what else to say. I'm doing the best that I can. And had I not brought this up today, I mean, we're supposed to believe that this is just a series of clerical errors.
Okay. Okay.
No, just one thing. Just first of all, the buildings that TrueCore have are 12 years old. They're not 20 years old. Second thing, TrueCore was here meetings ago when their people came in and flew in and explained. You probably were here. Explained their whole process. Wanted to ask anybody had any questions. Nobody had a question for him. I don't know how many meetings ago that was, but it was sometime in the summertime. They have been here. And the last thing, I'm going to make it short, I'm here all the time. And if anyone has any questions on any of this, you can meet with me. I'm not going to discuss it here in private or in my office or in the conference room, and I will explain my side of everything. I'm not going to go on.
That's the thing. No behind the reveals. You're one of three.
Right.
That's what I was, I'm one of five.
Right.
And I can express my opinion, but I can't tell you about the field.
Correct.
It goes by majority.
Thank you.
We do need to move on here. Our solicitor has a conference call. He has to jump on at 2:30. However, he did give me the note, just pointing out the fact that I guess that, oh, I'm sorry.
I think the word,
Yeah.
Commissioner's best is correct, that the word current should be inserted in the blank space. So it should be the current year. It wasn't meant to be everlasting, and that was supposed to be filled in before the meeting. So I would insert the word current in the agreement before you adopt it. So it's either the current budget year.
I think you had mentioned, or you had noted on here too, if the Shamokin Area School District doesn't reach agreement and the state doesn't pass the budget, we still get $15,000 per month, and the utilities on those buildings paid for until such time as they do. Okay, so we've had discussion on the question. Well, no, we already did on the question. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? One opposed. Motion carries. We're up to H.
Motion to adopt Resolution R-110-17, Commissioner's Budget Amendments as listed.
Is there a motion?
Moved.
I will second the motion on the question. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Okay, one abstention. Motion carries.
Motion to adopt Resolution R-111-17, agreements, amendments, revisions, grants, leases, and reports between the Northumberland County Commissioners on behalf of the Human, Senior, and Social Services and the named service providers as listed, numbers 1 through 12. The above agreements, amendments, revisions, grants, leases, and reports are not with county employees, nor does their organizational contract list county employees as their principal in their corporation or on their board of directors.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second. All in favor state aye, or on the question? All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Same.
Okay, and one abstention. Motion carries. Is there any old business brought before the board? I'm sorry.
Last
Okay.
meeting, is the paperwork for the civil lawsuit against Skull Township been filed yet over the permit fees? According to a news article on November 8th, it had not yet been filed.
Correct.
Last month, I was one saying, why not give it another 30 to 60 days? But the commissioners chose, majority of commissioners chose to pursue this. Why hasn't it been filed?
We received a request from the Cole Township Commissioners. Now they would like to meet. And so we felt that we would hold it off. However, the request was that we meet. Okay, well, and basically, we're sending a response back that if there is such a meeting, that we would have that in a public forum. So at least that's what my response would be, and, okay. Is there any new business to be brought before the board? Okay. Any further public input?
I have signed up to speak with this.
Yep, absolutely.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Susan Martz, and up until a month ago, I was employed by the County Behavioral Health Intellectual Development Services. In a week, it would have been 10 and a half years that I was employed here at the county. I loved my job. I loved what I did. That job actually saved my life as I started working here about 3 months after my husband, who was a Bloomsburg University employee, died unexpectedly. I actually turned down, I don't live in Northumberland County. I actually turned down a job in the county where I live, working for children and youth, to come here and work for mental health, because that's where my heart is. I'm not here today just about me. I'd love to have my job back, but I realize that that's not possible. But I would just like you to take into consideration about how things are handled and perhaps things that could be done in the future. I'm not saying that I'm not without any blame for the situation that happened, but I feel it could have been handled a lot differently. I had received a phone call the Friday before the Labor Day holiday stating that I needed to clear my schedule to meet with my supervisor, the BSU director, and our building director at 10 o'clock the Wednesday after the holiday. Prior to that, I had been informed that there had been an investigation going on regarding something that I had said. So I go the whole weekend, and then come back and work a day knowing that I have to go to this disciplinary meeting. When I walked into the meeting, I did have my union representative with me. There was a piece of paper on the table. The three gentlemen were seated in front of me. The paper was pushed towards me. I was told to turn it over and read it, and then asked if I had any questions. The recommendation on that, it was a disciplinary action, was termination of employment, which I had already anticipated. So therefore, I chose to resign because I knew the consequences of what that termination would be. I have a 29-year-old son who has Asperger's syndrome, who I'm responsible for, as well as 3 stepchildren, and I was the main support of the household. So I needed to do what was in the best interest of my family, which was to resign and not be terminated, because I know if I resign, I can get another job in civil service. If I'm terminated, my opportunities for further civil service employment are limited. So I was never given an opportunity to confront my accusers. All I was given was a short written witness statement from the person who had called into the office to complain. I was never given any chance to present any facts on my behalf during this investigation that was done. The investigation consisted of this person calling in and then emailing her statement to Mr. Giorgini, who is our BSU director, and then Mr. Giorgini and Mr. Lubuski, who was my immediate supervisor, going and speaking with my former consumer who had been present when I said what I did. That was the gist of their investigation. I didn't get to present any facts. I didn't get to say anything. I was just pushed this piece of paper and said, here you go, do you have any questions? Okay, I don't feel that that's right. Granted, I haven't been the perfect employee. I've been disciplined before, but anybody who knows me, who has worked with me over these 10.5 years, knows that I always had my best interests of my consumers and this county at heart. Or I wouldn't have been driving 45 minutes every morning and home every day to come here to work if I didn't believe in what I did. I often was here after hours. I often did not put in comp time for working through my lunch or working late because that part of it wasn't why I was here. I was here to serve my consumers and to do what was best for them. And that leads me to the second part of what I would like to address. I'm not here just about me. I'm here about them. There are several of them present here of their own free will. I did not contact them and ask them to come. I told them I was coming, and they said they wanted to be here, several of whom are asking to speak to you when I'm finished. My biggest problem, and like I said, yes, I'm upset about what happened to me. My biggest problem is what they did to them. Some of these people had been on my caseload since I started here. I was one of their main supports, as they have very few, if any, family members here. That was ripped out from under them. All right, I came to work, this meeting was scheduled for 10 o'clock, and I was told to have my things packed and out of the building by 11:30. I didn't get to call anybody, I didn't get to say goodbye, I didn't get to talk to my supervisor about what was going on with any of them. It was, give us your county phone, give us your county computer, give us your appointment book, pack up your stuff, and go. Okay? That's not what human services is supposed to be about. We are here to serve them. It is what is in their best interests. I had 3 appointments scheduled that day. One to take a person to her family doctor appointment, which according to Community Care Behavioral Health, the insurance companies, they want us to be doing that. I had another very important family meeting with one of my consumers and her parents and her sister that had been scheduled and rescheduled, not because of me, but because of some conflicts with them. That had to be postponed, okay? A month later, that individual's in the hospital as a result of that meeting not taking place, okay? That's not right. That's not what we're here for, okay? Again, I'm not saying I'm blameless in this matter, but this is not the way to handle things. This is not the way to treat people. Most of the people on my caseload were not there because they were quote unquote normal. They were there because they have serious mental health issues. And to pull someone out from under them who has worked with them for, most of the people on my caseload I worked with at least 3-4 years, some of them the whole entire time. How do you, in good conscience, do that to somebody? I believe that there's a better way that things can be handled. And again, like I said, it would be the greatest thing in the world to get my job back. I hope to someday be able to do this again. I'm in the process of searching. But again, yes, it has hurt me. I myself have depression as well as several physical health issues. It's only been this past week that I've been able to get out of the house myself and not be crying and not be upset about what has happened. I went to talk to my pastor a week after this happened. The first 10, 15 minutes was about what had happened to me. The rest of it was me sitting there crying because of these individuals. And he said to me, you know what, Sue? He said, most people would come in here and want to talk to me about what happened to them. They wouldn't be concerned about what happened to other people. But that's the kind of person that I am. That's why I chose to come here to work. That's why I chose to come here to do what I do. I've been on the school board for 12 years where I live. I've served on the IU board. I've served on our VOTEC board. I was one of the founding members of the Recovery Fest that we had over here for the last 3 years, the mental health walk. Like I said, I was devoted to this county and to the consumers that I serve. And what I did do that they chose to write me up for was also in the best interests of a consumer and her children. I warned a consumer about another child who I had dealt with on call, who was 6 years old, who had shot his family's cat execution style, and I cautioned my person on letting her ex-husband take those children to that house. And then I'm told that I did the wrong thing. If those 2 children had gone to that home and that child had access to the gun and something had happened to one of those 2 children, who I knew before they were even born, before they were even conceived, I would have never been able to live with myself. But yet I'm wrong because I warned somebody. I have had a nurse practitioner, and a doctor all tell me that I was within my right to inform. I have some suppositions as to why things happened the way that they did. One of my suspicions was confirmed today with the appointment of Mr. Giorgini as drug and alcohol supervisor, so we'll wait to see how the other ones play out. Again, I thank you for the opportunity to work here for the last 10 years and 5 months, whatever it was. I loved my job, I loved what I did, I loved my people, and I sincerely hope to be able to give that devotion to another agency in the future who will appreciate me for what I have to offer. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and thank you for the time you've spent with the county. And again, we give great deference to our department heads and managers in these types of things. I can't really speak to it with more specificity, as I'm sure you can appreciate it as an employment matter, also involving individuals that were your clients. There's a lot of just reasons why we can't, I don't feel we should be commenting publicly about that. But I appreciate your concerns with it. And
with you guys privately, and she said that that was something that would probably have to be arranged after this.
okay.
So if that's still an opportunity, I would be more than happy to do so if you folks are willing to do that.
Certainly.
Thank you.
I will not be able to do it today. It'll have to be today. I just texted my son to make sure he got my daughter at the end of school day. So my understanding, there's some other individuals that would like to speak.
I'm pretty upset about this whole thing. My name's Patty Sands, and I was on Sue's original caseload. I had just been released from the hospital for having a nervous breakdown, and Sue took me under her wing, per se. Since then, I have experienced some of the greatest tragedies in my life. I lost my oldest brother to Iraqi freedom. My family fell apart. I have no family support on my father's side or my mother's side. And Sue has been there before hours, after hours, weekends. If I needed her, she was there. She saved my life. I was circling the drain. And if it wasn't for Sue and her dedication and her heart, I probably wouldn't be standing here right now. Because there was times that Sue talked me out of it that I wished I was dead. And if it wasn't for Sue and how hard she worked and how much time and effort and love she gave to this county, and they turned around and did this to her, Sue was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I've been at that office when her higher-ups have walked past her, and they just snubbed their nose. They're ignorant as hell to clients. Her head supervisor there is a prick. Point blank, he's a prick. He has no concern for anybody. He's there for his title, for his paycheck. He don't give two shits, excuse my language, about the people that are there that need the help, that he's supposed to be supporting emotionally. He's supposed to have people there that'll support them emotionally, not get rid of the people who are there to do their job, not there to receive a paycheck. And 100% Sue's right. Any human being that wouldn't have spoke their opinion to their friend, colleague, whatever it would be, about a child being put in danger and not feel guilty if something would have happened, if she wouldn't have said something and that child would have went over there, if something would have happened, anyone as a human being, not a caseworker, not government, not anything, but as a human being that had a heart would feel guilty about that. And anyone as a human being would be smart enough to, yeah, I don't think I would do it either. And I don't know how the hell that's considered a violation of the HIPAA Act, because I've had caseworkers over there talk about my personal in-house things to people that I don't even know. So if it's caseworker to caseworker, whatever, that's a violation of my HIPAA Act. Nothing was ever done about that. So they want to throw this HIPAA shit around, it's just not going to be, because I'm going to start bringing up their dirt. Because they are so corrupt over there on who they want to favor and who they want to put the target on, and I'm done. They want to play games, they want to pick on certain people, which I've seen in the last 10 years that I've been with Sue. I've seen them target her for little things. Oh, my one paper wasn't updated. Joe comes down having a fit about it. But there's caseworkers that he liked and he favored that had months of back paperwork. But they were always coming down on Sue. Oh, get her out of here. She don't need this. I lost my brother for this country. And that is one of the hardest things in the world I am ever going to deal with. And Sue was the only one that was there for me. I had no relationship at the time. My family split apart. My father's side is gone for a different reason. After my brother's death, my family split apart. I had nobody to turn to. And it was just 7 years at the beginning of this month that my brother's dead. And the only one out of my family or anybody, I contacted Sue after her termination because I needed her. I went to Bloomsburg and I hunted her down because I knew the county wasn't going to let her contact me. I went on my own time, my own money, and everything to find her. That's how much I need her in my life. And I'm sure a lot of her other clients, if they could, would do the same thing. She was a godsend, and she didn't deserve what she got. She deserved a pat on the back, not a kick in the ass. Appreciate your time, but that's how I feel.
Thank you for your comments and sorry for your losses. Is there any other individuals that would like to speak?
No, I'm just straightening it up.
Okay. Were there any others?
I'm not very good at this. I don't typically do things like this, but in a time like this, I thought maybe, I could come out and support Sue this one time. And I'm not here to take any sides or anything like that, but I do. I mean, Sue has been there for me when nobody else has been. Her heart is definitely in the right place. I'm not really good at this, like.
You don't have to be.
I apologize, but Sue's definitely, her heart has definitely been in the right place, and she has been there when nobody else has been. That's all I'm going to say, because I just don't do well with this. But.
Right. Thank you. Is there anybody else that wanted to say anything?
I didn't sign the paper. Can I say?
Yes, absolutely.
Ever since that Sue has been gone, they gave a lot of us new caseworkers, and the caseworkers that we're getting, like the one I have, he's kind of passive. The other caseworkers that are left now are very overworked. They're down, I think, 3 caseworkers now over there. So they're not giving even anybody a chance to work through anything they're going through. And there's just so much going on and nobody to turn to anymore. I mean, how are you supposed to get better if you don't know who to trust? Especially when you have a mental illness and you already have trust issues, and the person that you trusted for me over 8 years is no longer there. And then they expect you to just, oh, here's another person here, talk to this person, but the person does not have time to talk to you. or to listen to what you're going through, or to help you, or nor do they want to help you. At least that's what I get. I'm being told on my caseworker now that I have, oh, just isolate yourself, stay away from everybody. Oh, is that good for mental health? Is that now what we're teaching everybody? No, just isolate yourself, stay away from everybody.
That makes her depressed more.
Exactly. You know, so
You're
it
afraid to
seems
call
like the
the
system has
crisis
kind of
line.
gone downhill.
You call the crisis line, they're sending the cops and the ambulance out.
Oh,
to
yeah,
your house.
absolutely.
But
I've
you
already
did
been
that
302
302.
like twice since she's been gone for no reason.
And they won't
Anyone can
explain
call
any
it.
reason.
Well, and that's the other thing I forgot to say. When this happened, not only was it a loss for me and a loss for them, but it also had a severe impact on my coworkers. That was a Wednesday. I was scheduled to be on call that Friday. So somebody with a day's notice had to take my weekend of on call, not to mention the other ones that I was required to take, the ones that I volunteered to take for other people, and the ones that I also signed up to take voluntarily. I was on call once a month for the next 6 months. Sometimes there was 3 weeks between, sometimes there was 6 weeks between, but I took extra, I covered for people, you know, I did that. So not only has this impacted me and my consumers, but my coworkers as well, which is something that I had forgotten to mention. So, I mean, people need to stop and think that one little thing impacted, you know, 30 people this way and, you know, 8, 10 of my coworkers too. So that's just not how you do business. Like I said, I was on the school board for 12 years. You would have never been able to you know, terminate a teacher or whatever like that. You know, and I'm not saying that the county is run the same way as the school district is run, but it's still a governmental agency. There still needs to be a better way to do this. So I look forward to
be shed on the issue.
And we'll certainly have discussions with our management in the department as well about the topic. And
My caseworker now, she calls me 3-4 times a day. She refuses to come to my house because I have dogs. Part of her job is to check on me, to make sure I'm okay. If I ask her to come to my house, she needs to do paperwork, and I don't drive. How am I supposed to meet her somewhere? Part of her job is to meet me, not to accommodate her. My dogs have kennels. I have a basement. She can come in my house and not have to worry about my dogs. But last time I had an intervention with her, she's like, oh, well, my daughter has 2 pit bulls and I love them. Well, I have 3 pit bulls, and I offered to lock them up in their boxes in the basement behind a locked door, and she still refuses to come to my house. That's her job. Her job is to meet me, not for me to pay somebody gas money to go meet her. She's the one getting paid. Why should I have to pay out of my pocket because she won't do her job properly? Sue always accommodated that. Sue understood. I don't drive. She would make exceptions. She would give me an extra 15 minutes if I had to walk somewhere, or she would make an issue that she would meet me. She would come to my house. Nobody would come to my house. This new caseworker, she's like, well, I have to meet you. She calls me 3-4 times a day. Meet me here, meet me there. I don't drive. I live in Cole Township. She wants to meet at OIP. I'm up for back surgery. I'm in therapy for both my ankles. How am I supposed to walk up and down Ray Street because my appointed county caseworker for MHMR won't come to my house to see me, which is what she is paid to do. And it's not like she's paying for the ass. She has your county's car. No, it'd take her 5 minutes to drive to my house, and it'll take me 3 hours to walk to OIP. Because I live on Ray Street, but I have to sit down every block. I'm in twice a week for physical therapy for both my ankles and an upcoming back surgery. But she wants me to walk to meet her because she can't come to my house because of my dogs. That's bull. That's wrong. It's not part of her job. She's not doing her job. Why isn't there an investigation against that?
again, we can't really comment on an employment matter, but your concerns are well noted, and we will be, having a discussion about the topic with our management.
Yeah, I don't feel like she's meeting her requirements with me. My fiance has told me that he's seen a deterioration in me. I don't saying I have to do my goals with her. I don't have a way to meet her. Let her come to my house. Give me 15 minutes notice. I'll lock my dogs up in their boxes, put them in the basement, and lock the basement door. What's their affair? She just don't want to do her job.
And even the on-call workers, how stressed are, I mean, they literally complain on the phone about being on call.
Yeah.
And how much they do not like it. They don't want to take you to the hospital, but yet that's the only option they give you because they don't want to stay on the phone with you because they don't want to deal with you. So their best option is, hey, let's just lock them away. So, you know.
Thank you for your comments and your insight on it. As I said, it will be a topic of discussion with our management.
The best people to walk through that door and then are gonna realize what they lost when they let her go. She was in it for her heart, she wasn't in it for her paycheck. So of course that comes along with it, but she would do it for free if she needed to.
Any other further public input? Okay, thank you. And I'll make a motion to adjourn.